Francois, in the scenario when there are multi-generational owners and managers, kind of what you and I do almost on a daily basis,
Yep.
and a portion want to sell, what are the likely options? And you kind of alluded to it in the last answer. And I'm going to have a follow-up question, which will be, what if those who want to sell work at the company and are critical to building the company versus those who want to sell who just simply own the company?
Right. Yeah, so great question. Obviously, you're right. I mean, that's always something you and I always confronted with different factions of the family that want to sell and others that don't want to sell. My reaction is always try to first to really explore the reason why they want to sell, and not necessarily jump into a solution. And because there are reasons that are nothing to do with the health of the business, may have to do with personal issues, could be even due to the fact that they feel trapped in their family investment. I remember one example of a family that we helped many years ago, where we were approached by the descendant part of family that wanted to sell their equity in the business. And as we spoke with them and as we discussed with them the reason why they want to sell, instead of looking for an investor for them to buy their shares or the family or the other shareholders to buy their shares, all we did is just set up a liquidity program for the shareholders. So they had an option every year if they want to sell. And that mechanism alone was enough for them to stay invested in the family businesses because they had the option to be able to sell. They didn't feel trapped anymore in their family investment. So starting with understanding why the shareholders want to sell, for me, is critical before we go into different solutions. The solutions, I think the way we look at it then go in two different categories, Michael. One is liquidity flexibility, meaning they don't have to sell, but we can set up mechanisms for them to be able to sell in the future. They have options to sell. Could be an ongoing redemption program, could be some kind of a family clearinghouse for shareholders. So those are kind of liquidity flexibility. And then we have what we call more the immediate liquidity options, which could be selling to a private equity partner, selling to the company in a full redemption, and a shareholder buyout. And obviously all the way to the sale of the company. So there's a lot of different options that their shareholders want to. Now, your second question, which is even more interesting, is obviously when those who want to sell actually are the ones that are in the business. And there again, I would start with understanding why they want to sell. I mean, they're the one who really know the business better than most of the other shareholders, obviously. So are they concerned about the future of the business? Are they concerned about risk that they're not willing to take, or are there some personal reasons they may have to want to sell? So I think try to answer that question. Those questions first, I think, would be important. And the solution there could be as simple as saying, okay, well, maybe we're for the shareholders that are not active in the business and want to stay on, maybe we find them you can find them a partner that could buy the shares of we could find a manager of the business that could take over the management of the business. Or what many families have done is basically go to the ESOP route and basically get an ESOP to basically buy the shares of the active shareholders, and basically have the employees through an ESOP buy the shares of those employees or those family members that want to sell. So. But there again, to your first question that we thought, I think there's a lot more options today than we had 30 years ago. And I think that there's great hope through tools that are available through financial engineering to be able to address the multiple parts of a family that are in business together. And remember, Michael, I think the three key issues that we deal in a family business that often conflict and need to be reconciled is the issues of providing liquidity for shareholders, providing capital for the business to continue to prosper and grow, and reconciling the control and governance desires of the family. Three issues, we call it the family business triangle, because they basically are conflict in a certain way, and we got to find a balance in a financial solution for families, the balance between providing enough liquidity for the shareholders, providing capital for the growth of the business, and a control and governance of the business that would allow to maintain the family go forward.